If you're ready to start your YouTube journey, it can feel a little bit overwhelming to figure out what gear do you actually need. There's so much tech out there and nobody wants to overspend on the wrong stuff. Well, after 10 years of working in video production, I'm breaking down everything you actually need to make high quality videos. And whether you're a complete beginner or looking to upgrade your current setup, you'll find gear on this list that'll fit your budget needs. And at the end, I'll show you 3 complete YouTube setups from ultra beginner to more pro level so you can see how we tie this all together. Now, before we jump into the gear, here's just a quick framework that's gonna make everything way easier to understand. Every video you create can be broken down into 4 main parts, and the acronym we use here at Think Media is AVLS. It stands for Audio, Video, Lighting, and Stabilization. If you can dial in these 4 things, you can film amazing videos, whether it's on your phone or if you have a full-fledged studio setup. So let's break down this acronym starting with audio right here because it's often the most overlooked part of the production process. So when choosing the right microphone setup for your YouTube videos, there's really 3 options to choose from. You can choose a shotgun style microphone, a wireless style microphone, or a podcast style microphone. So let's first break down shotgun mics. These mics you mount on top of your camera or some sort of mic stand. And these microphones are very directional, so they're very good at capturing audio directly in front of them. And the benefit of this is they do a great job of canceling out audio that comes from the left or the right side of the microphone or even the rear of the mic. So very directional. If you sit in front of a shotgun style microphone at about 1 to 2 feet, you're bound to capture really good audio. A budget shotgun microphone would be something like the Deity D4 Mini. This is a really tiny directional shotgun style microphone, and they can be found between $40 and $50. It's cool because this not only has a 3.5 millimeter output, so you can plug this directly into your camera, but it also has a 3.5 millimeter input, so you could input another wireless audio signal potentially if you wanted 2 sources of audio. It's a really crazy system for only about $50, so I'll link it down in the description below so you can check this out along with all of the gear we're going to talk about in this video. If you want a little bit better shotgun style microphone, the Rode VideoMic Go 2 has been an outstanding option for years at this point. It's something we always recommend to people if they have just a little bit more to spend. They can be found for around $130 or so, as low as $99 when they're on sale. And this mic not only has a 3.5 millimeter output, so you can plug it into a camera, but it also has a USB-C output. So if you want to pair this with a laptop or a smartphone, you could do that as well, or an iPad if you record on your iPad. It's such a versatile microphone and sounds outstanding. And then a more pro level shotgun style microphone might have an XLR output, so something like this Audio-Technica AT875R. Man, the names of these products sometimes get a little bit ridiculous, but this is a really good and affordable sounding XLR style shotgun microphone. You just plug this into an XLR interface or some sort of camera interface that has XLR inputs, and you can record audio that way. I personally think shotgun style microphones are actually the most versatile style of microphone that you can use for multiple use cases, because the other 2 mics that we're going to talk about are a little bit more specific to their certain use cases. So the next style of microphone we'll talk about are wireless microphones, and these are a really common and typical thing that you'll see content creators and YouTubers use. Wireless systems are great because you can typically just clip them directly to your shirt or even hold them in your hand if you would prefer, and then just go wherever you want with that microphone so long it's connected wirelessly to your camera or your smartphone. The drawback to going with wireless mic systems are that oftentimes the internal microphone in these wireless systems aren't as good sounding as a shotgun or a podcast style microphone. So if you want the best audio quality, you're not usually going to get that out of a wireless microphone. But nowadays, honestly, there's some pretty good options. My favorite budget recommendation right now is the Hollyland Lark A1. This is about a $40 wireless mic system that you can use. It comes with 2 wireless mics, so you could clip those onto yourself and somebody else if you were doing a 2-person man on the street style interview or a podcast you could use these for. And the audio quality for $40 does sound really good. There's even some noise cancellation and an app that you can pair with it as well. So overall, this is my favorite system under $50 for creators. The Lark A1 is specifically designed for smartphones as well. So it either comes with a USB-C or a Lightning receiver, and you can pair those with iPhones or Androids, Google phones, whatever the case, and it's going to sound really good. Now, if you're able to increase your budget just a little bit towards $100 or so, this will open up quite a few options from different companies like DJI, Hollyland, Rode, etc. Now, still one of my favorites though is from Hollyland. It's their Lark M2, and this system can be found right around $100. And you maybe have seen this microphone before. It's the tiny like little circle button style mic that honestly has gone viral over the last couple years. People love this microphone. And frankly, it's because it sounds so good, but is so small. And it continues to be one of our favorite systems to recommend here at Think Media. And this mic system also can be used with cameras. While the Lark A1 was designed for smartphones, the Lark M2 has the ability to work with cameras because it comes with a 3.5mm receiver. And then if you want another pro level system, again, there's a lot of options, and we'll just stay with Hollyland for the sake of this video. There is the Lark Max 2 that recently got released, and it has all the features that we mentioned with the other two microphones, plus other things like you can internally record audio to the transmitter. So if you want backup audio files and not just rely on the wireless transmission, but use it more as like a field recorder, clip it to somebody's shirt and hit record. You can do that with a system like the Lark Max 2. You can also pair up to 4 microphones with one receiver if you need to mic multiple talent and not just one person or 2 people. This is a great way to do that. And the Lark Max 2 also has the ability to input different 3.5mm microphones into the mic. So you don't just have to rely on that built-in microphone. You can plug in different styles of microphones like a lapel microphone and then clip that to your talent's shirt for a little bit more of a professional look. Now, I know we only touched on a few microphones, but if you want to see our favorite list of the best 10 wireless microphones for creators this year, I'll drop a link to that video I produced down in the description below. It's an outstanding video to help you decide which wireless mic is actually best for you. And the last kind of mic that creators would be interested in would be podcast style microphones. So these are going to be more positioned to a desk setup or on a table somewhere, a tabletop mic stand, something like that. And these are a lot richer and fuller sounding mic systems that produce a beautiful and warm sound quality. My favorite budget podcast microphone is the Fifine AM8. This is about a $50 microphone, and it even comes with a tabletop stand or a boom arm for just a few dollars more. And this mic has both USB-C outputs and XLR outputs. So that USB-C is great. For about $50, you can just plug it directly into your computer and start podcasting with one little audio cable and that microphone that comes with a stand already, and you're ready to start a podcast. And if you wanted to step up in audio quality just a little bit, for around $100 to $150, you can purchase a lot of Shure microphones. And Shure is probably my favorite company that's making the best podcast style microphones. A mid-tier option would be something like the Shure MV7 series, maybe the MV7X, which is their XLR style MV7, and you can plug that into an audio interface, which we'll talk about in just a minute. And that is a great mid-tier option. And then if you want like a pro level podcast microphone that all the pro podcasters are using, you could purchase something like this. This is the Shure SM7DB, and there's an older Shure SM7B. And really the only difference is they built some preamps into this newer version that just makes this microphone a little bit more sensitive to sound. And the original one was a little bit less sensitive. So sometimes you got to use like a little gain booster to boost that audio signal. But either way, both of those microphones are world class, and you really can't get a better podcast microphone than the Shure SM7B series. And if you want to watch a video of all of my favorite podcast mics under $200, I'll leave a link down in the description to that video. Now, the final thing I did want to mention was audio interfaces, because sometimes if you want to do a podcast or live streaming or a lot of just YouTube style videos, require using audio interfaces to capture and process audio or even listen to your guests, especially if you're on like live streams with multiple people or doing remote podcasting. Audio interfaces can be vitally helpful. My favorite budget audio interface is the Vocaster 2 audio interface, which is only $99 for this outstanding audio interface. In my opinion, if you're on a budget, this is the best audio interface to purchase if you're wanting to start a podcast or doing any sort of live streaming with multiple XLR microphones. The system is so user-friendly. All of the buttons and dials are labeled very clearly. There's not a lot of hidden menus that you have to work with. Everything is just really easy to use. You can plug in 2 different sets of headphones to the Vocaster, so yourself and a guest can monitor your audio real time if you're doing a podcast. And there's even some subtle processing you can do to your audio file real time. A more mid-tier podcasting interface would be something like the Rodecaster Duo. This is a really great audio interface with more processing and mixing controls. And overall, the company Rode just is outstanding with audio equipment in general, but I really think their Rodecaster lineup is one of the best products they've ever created. And then if you wanted to go to a more pro level podcasting interface, something like the Rodecaster Pro 2 is what I use here in my studio. And you can input up to 4 XLR inputs, and you have lots of like pads and dials and switches that you can all customize to your liking. There's so much customization you can do with these Roadcasters, and you can pair wireless microphones to them. So if you're somebody who wants to like incorporate wireless audio into your live productions or your podcast, you can pair that all seamlessly together. And that's just something that Rode does so well. Now, the next letter in our acronym is V for video. So this, of course, involves cameras, but also lenses. And I kind of broke this category down into different subcategories like vlogging cameras, everyday studio cameras, and even some honorable mentions. And then we'll talk about lenses at the end. So if you want to start vlogging this year, I think there are a few key cameras that you should know about that will fit your needs best as a vlogger. The first being, though, is probably the camera you already have, which is your smartphone. Smartphones continue to be one of the best options for vlogging because it's readily available. It's already something you have on your person at all times. And most likely your smartphone has more than one camera. On these iPhone Pro models and these newer ones, they have like 3 cameras. They have a main camera, which is outstanding, an ultra wide, which I love for vlogging, and even a telephoto if you want different creative tight shots out of your vlogs. And then of course, there's also the front-facing selfie camera. So you instantly have a monitor able to see yourself while you're out recording. It's such a cool thing. I think smartphones are the clear #1 choice for beginners if you're wanting to vlog. Now, if you don't want to use your smartphone, I think the first option I would look at would be the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. This will set you back now, I think about $800 or $900 in the US because of tariffs currently. This used to be closer to $520, but now it's going to be a little bit more expensive for you to get the Pocket 3. I do think, though, it is still worth it. This camera is amazing. It's got the nice flip screen to be able to go instantly from vertical shooting to horizontal shooting. There's a ton of different resolutions and frame rates you can shoot in, as well as an abundance of accessories so you can rig this thing out to be the exact kind of vlogging camera that you want it to be. Now, there is a really strange camera that actually just got released that you should be aware of. It's called the Extra Muse, and Nate, our other content creator on the Think Media channel, just did a review about this camera. And in almost every way, it's exactly the same as the DJI Pocket 3. And I'm not talking like sort of the same. I mean, it's the literal same camera. It's crazy. If you're interested in the Extra Muse, I'll link the video down in the description below that Nate did. And this camera is cheaper. So if you want to save yourself a couple $100s and you don't care about the couple features it is missing that the Pocket 3 has, it's a great way to save some money. So I'll link it down in the description below as well as the video so you can check it out. And then if you want a more traditional style vlog camera, I think the #1 choice for us this year would be the Canon PowerShot V1. Now this is going to be almost $1,000 for a vlogging camera, but if you want the most pro level results with cinematic looking footage, the ability to shoot in log profiles to retain the most information out of your scenes for vlogging, that's a great feature that this Canon camera has. And of course, there are different companies who make a competitor to the PowerShot V1. Something like the Sony ZV-1 Mark II is a great vlogging camera as well. And the entire Sony ZV series of vlogging cameras are pretty outstanding, honestly. But if I could only choose one based on our experience here at Think Media, I think the PowerShot V1 would be the top vlogging camera for creators this year, with some of those other cameras being pretty viable options. Now, moving away from vlogging into everyday studio type of work, like filming videos like I'm filming right now, what are the best cameras in those regards? And I think the first option that we'd recommend as a beginner camera would be the Canon R50V. Now, this is also a brand new camera that's been released in the last 6 months or so by Canon. Price point, though, for this is wild. It's $669 brand new at the time of recording this video. Now, it is a mirrorless camera, so you will have to pick up some lenses for your camera as well, which will increase the overall cost of your everyday camera setup. But as we looked at all the different options that beginners could choose, I do think that for the price to performance ratio, this really does, for the money, get you the best performance out of a beginner style mirrorless camera. Another recommendation could be the Sony ZV-E10 or E10 II cameras. We've used these cameras for years and recommended them at Think Media. I literally have both of them sitting back there on the shelf, and I use them all the time still for creating content. I do think the original Sony ZV-E10 does have a lot of value because you can find those in used condition closer to about $500. So all in, if you want to still get pretty great image quality and have access to a lot of affordable lenses that Canon does not have access to. For whatever reason, Canon will not allow third-party manufacturers to create lenses for most of their camera bodies, versus Sony, you can have a wide array of third-party lenses accessible to your camera. So that's going to save you a lot of money in the long run. So I think the Sony ZV-E10 is still a great option. The ZV-E10 II does have some more advanced features like 10-bit color, it's a newer sensor, and it's just going to overall be a better image than the original ZV-E10. But honestly, either way, they're great cameras. And then if you just want to throw down a ton of money, you could grab something like the Sony FX3. That's actually what I'm filming on right now. And I always get comments on these videos, Craig, what camera are you using? What lens? Well, I'm using the Sony FX3 for this video. I continue to think this is like one of the best cameras on the market for creators if you have the money to spend, especially if you're like an entrepreneur, business owner, or you're already generating revenue from YouTube, or you have different side hustles or freelance gigs. Or if you want to purchase a camera as a tax write-off, this would save you a lot in taxes because this thing is over $4,000. A couple honorable mention cameras I will mention would be first the Nikon Z50 II. This is their latest APS-C camera. And dude, this thing is fantastic. I think this was overlooked because a lot of cameras were coming out around the same time. And for about $900, I think it's one of the most capable APS-C cameras on the market. And it's a hybrid camera. So it's not really just for video creators, but also for photographers. We did a dedicated review on this where my wife and I tag team the shoot, where we both had a Z50 II. She handled all the photo stuff. I did all the video. And I thought that review was amazing. The results were amazing. So if you want to check that out, you can check out the Z50 review down in the description below. I also think the original Canon R50 and the R10 are great mirrorless camera options, and they can be found for more affordable prices than a lot of the cameras listed on our list and still create really great image results. And every time I come back to these cameras, I always think to myself, man, like I kind of wish I was a Canon shooter so I could use some of these older Canon cameras. And we have some in our inventory and we'll use them from time to time for reviews and comparisons and testings. But overall, I'm mostly a Sony shooter, so I don't touch these Canon cameras too often. Now, I do really quick want to recommend a few lenses that I think are interesting for beginner creators, because if you buy yourself a camera, you do need a quality lens to pair with it. And I'm going to focus mostly on Sony lenses because that's most of what I have. But almost all of these lenses are either available in different camera mounts as well. So you could grab like a Viltrox lens for the Nikon system as well, or a different company makes an equivalent lens in their lineup for usually a similar price. The first lens is a budget prime lens, and a prime lens just means there's no zoom range. So it's just a fixed focal length. And that lens is the Viltrox 20mm f2.8 lens. This is actually a full frame lens for about $160, which is crazy for what you're getting. I think the image quality on this lens is outstanding. Over the last couple years, this has been my #1 recommendation for beginners because it's a nice wide focal length on a full frame system. And if you put it on an APS-C crop sensor camera, it's still going to give you a pretty nice medium shot for talking head style videos. And I just keep coming back to this lens as my favorite lens for beginners. Now, if you want your lens to have the ability to zoom in and out and go from really wide shots to tighter shots, then you want to get a zoom lens. And typically, I do recommend beginners just start with whatever kit lens their camera comes with. So if you bought like the Sony ZV-E10, you could grab this 16 to 50mm kit lens that would come with that camera, and it's going to give you pretty good results. Another pretty good kit lens is the Sony 28 to 70 kit lens. And I usually call this the most hated lens in America because everybody tells you don't buy the Sony full frame kit lens. But every time I use it, I think it's actually a pretty cool lens. It also looks really cool. Like there's something about just having like kind of a saucy aesthetic to your lens that I kind of prefer. So if you're like me and you like your lens to be kind of saucy, check out the 28 to 70. Now, if you want to bump up in quality a little bit and get a little sharper images as well as have a wider open aperture to work with, a lens that we constantly recommend is the Sigma 16mm. Now, this is designated for APS-C cameras, so you full frame shooters, you won't necessarily want to pick up this lens, but a lot of beginners want to shoot on APS-C crop sensors. So the Sigma 16 is amazing. I actually have over here on this talking head setup that I use all the time. I'll show some B-roll of it. I have the Sony FX30 running the Sigma 16 almost 100% of the time. So if you like the way that image looks, you can kind of get a sense for how it would perform in a talking head environment. If you want to step up your kit lens to a better zoom lens, the Tamron 28 to 75 is a great zoom lens for beginners. It's only about $800 or $900 brand new, and this works for full frame cameras as well as APS-C cameras. So you can use it for either one. Just note that when you do use it on APS-C, you will have a crop factor. So it's going to be a lot tighter than 28mm to 75. It'll be more like a 40-ish millimeter to maybe 100 millimeters equivalent. And if you want some more pro level lenses, I love the Sony 20mm f1.8 lens. It might be my favorite lens of all time. I'm using it right now to record this video. And I just think they just did something to this lens. I don't know what they did, but this thing is so sharp. It looks so good. Even though it doesn't stop down to like f1.4, which would get me more light, I don't really ever need it. I love the 1.8 aperture. I think it's an outstanding lens. Or if you want a zoom lens, most camera brands make their version of a 24-105 or a 24-70. I think those are the most common zoom ranges that you'll use for YouTube style videos. And I have both those in my studio right now. And usually these become my main workhorse lenses when I'm filming my YouTube B-roll. Now, I know that was a lot of cameras and lenses to sift through, and you might still be wondering like, okay, which one of these is best for me? Thankfully, we have like dedicated reviews on all of these cameras and almost all of these lenses as well. So if you want to just sift through our library and find a specific video that you're looking for and a specific camera you're interested in, we probably have a good resource for you so you can check those videos out. Now let's shift gears to talking about the next part of our acronym, the L for lighting. Lighting is so important so that no matter what camera you're using, it can live up to its fullest potential by having a lot of great high quality light to work with. We've tested a ton of lights at Think Media over the years, and there are a few options I do want to share today. First would be our budget category of lights. The first is this nice VD 2-pack LED panel kit that we found maybe about 18 months ago. Since that time, we featured it in several different setups, and hundreds of you have purchased this kit and been really satisfied with the performance of this budget LED panel kit. It comes with 2 main panel lights and all of the stands that you need to get up and running. And these lights are also bi-color temperature, so you can set them to a little bit cooler temperature or warmer temperature depending on what your environment is. You might want to change that color temp. These are powered via USB, so they really don't draw that much power. You can even plug them into your computer if you want to use them as like desk lights, or you can just grab a little power adapter and plug them into a wall that way, and that'll work just fine. I think this is a great starter option for anyone, especially because they're only about $50 to get the entire kit. There are a couple budget lights from Small Rig that I want to mention. The first being the P96L. This is a great tiny little budget RGB accent light in the event that you want to add a little splash of color to your background. Like I have right now, a little blue light on in the background. You can grab something like this to just position in the background of your frame to add a little touch of color. There's also the RF10C, which is a really interesting budget like flashlight style spotlight for creative lighting and textures to your scene. So if you want to add some interest into your background or to your wall, you could look at purchasing something like this only for like $30 or $40. And it's a great starter way to add some texture without needing to completely redo your background or paint your wall. Now, if you have a little bit more to spend, we'd recommend you step up to something in Amaran's product lineup. There's a lot of options, but something that I've actually enjoyed recently, and I'm using both of their lights right now in this video, is the Amaran Pano 60C. This is similar to that panel style light that we just showed you, but a lot higher quality, a lot brighter, and more customization. My favorite variant of this light is the kit for $329 because it comes with 2 lights that you can see I'm using right now. I'm using one as a key light and one as my background light, and I've switched it into RGB mode, so it's giving me that blue color in the background. And this kit comes with everything you need. You got your light stands, you got diffusion. It also has this really unique quick lock mechanism, so you could just detach the light from the light stand really quickly. I haven't really seen this from any other company, and overall, it's one of my favorite kits for beginners. And if you want something a little bit nicer, Amaran makes a couple of other products. The first would be the Amaran 60D. This is what we call a cob style light or a chip on board. It just uses a really bright LED chip and then different styles of modification like light domes or reflectors to modify the light and the softness of the light to whatever your specific use case is. I honestly use this light for almost every talking head video, and I usually pair it with their light dome mini softbox, and that creates a nice soft looking light. And I position the light about 2 feet away from me to get that soft look, and the results look outstanding. Now, Amaran also recently released the Amaran Verge Max. In a lot of ways, it's the same benefits as the Amaran 60D plus a softbox. You get all of that really soft lighting, but in a super small footprint. I mean, just look at how thin the Verge Max is. This is great because softboxes take up a lot of depth, and if you have a tiny room and you want to maximize space, grabbing something like the Verge Max could be a great option for you. This light is also designed for streamers, so they've actually put all of the controls on the front of the light, which makes it very easy for making adjustments in real time. And if you want the smaller version of this light, they actually just have the Amaranth Verge, which is a similar streaming style light, kind of like we talked about in this video. There are a ton of different styles of lights like accent and creative lighting. Like you can see over here, I have these vertical tube lights that I got off of Amazon. You could purchase something like that if you want a creative light in your scene. And lighting is honestly kind of like an art. There are some core principles that you can learn, like how to position your key light or how to add fill to a scene. But ultimately, lighting just kind of is your own creative thing that you can figure out, and you're going to grow in over time as you get more comfortable with it. Now, this brings us to the last piece of the acronym, which is S for stabilization. And here's where you're going to want to think through, how are you going to support and rig up and stabilize all of your items that you purchased for the filming of your videos. So you need a tripod to put your camera on. You potentially need some light stands to rig up your lighting, maybe even some support pieces to rig up your microphones. All of this kind of stuff goes under this stabilization category, and some of it maybe is just broader accessories that you need to record your videos. Let's first talk about tripods. The easiest tripod you could look at is something like a basic Amazon phone tripod. These things are like $15 or so. They're not going to set you back much at all. And really all you need is for it to have 3 legs and be able to hold up your smartphone and angle it towards you. This is by far the easiest way to get a stable shot using your smartphone. Now, if you have a dedicated camera, you'll need something with a little bit larger base plate is what it's called, or a tripod plate, so that you can rig that camera on top of the tripod. One of my favorite options that I've been using for years is about a $99 and sometimes even cheaper tripod from Magnus. It's their VT series tripod, and the number changes depending on what model you get. But price-wise, they're usually around $100, and that's actually what I'm recording my video on right now. I use this thing all the time. I've used it for probably about 5 years now, and I've never really had any issues. And then there's way more pro-level tripods, like there's one from Ulanzi, which is their Video Fast heavy-duty tripod kit. This is going to be like almost $350, $400 for a tripod. I have one here in studio that honestly I do like. These more heavy-duty tripods are great for rigging up larger cameras, but if you don't have a really heavy or robust camera rig where you're adding like V-mount batteries to and whatnot, then you really don't need something that supports that much weight, and I would just save some money and go for a more budget-friendly tripod. Another way to rig up your camera is using what are called desk stands, and these are kind of like little tripods for your desk, and they use clamping systems to mount directly to the side of your desk. You just kind of twist those into place, and now you have a tripod attached to your desk, which is great for saving floor space. If you don't like kicking over tripods as you're trying to get out of your room, I actually have several different lights and cameras and monitors rigged up to my desk to save floor space, and I love these things. Newer is a company that makes a lot of accessories like this. They make tripods and camera rigging parts, as well as desk stands like this and lighting, and we use them all the time for different little intricate things that you need around your studio. And these desk stands that I've had for about 2 years now. They've never failed me, and they only cost about, I think, $40 for a pack of 2 of them. So you can just get however many you need depending on what your use case is. And sometimes you might need to purchase a specific accessory like a ball head to put on top of that light stand to mount your camera to. It just sort of depends on what camera you have. Another type of stand I use all the time, and especially did when I was working in full-time video production, are what are called C stands. It stands for Century Stand, and these are really heavy-duty, multi-purpose stands that you can do a lot of things with. Typically what you'd see these used for on film sets would be rigging up different lighting modification, like a flag to cut out light from hitting onto your set, or rigging up heavy film lights that just weigh a lot. But I actually still use them for my YouTube workflow. I often use them for my top-down filming sets, and I'll rig up a C-stand overhead with a camera pointed down at my desk to do all of my top-down filming. And then I also use it for holding lights and lighting modification from time to time as well. So having a C-stand or 2 in your kit could be a really good long-term investment. Newer actually makes some C-stands, and they have some for as affordable as about $130 for a C-stand. And I know that's a little bit more expensive than typical light stands, but these things are so heavy duty. If you do want just some basic light stands, even something as simple as Amazon Basics 2-pack of light stands for like $30 is a great starting point. And you don't just have to use light stands to hold lights. I use them all of the time for other things. You can even mount cameras to them. You can mount microphones to light stands to hide them in creative ways so they don't show up in your camera frame. So lots of ways you can use basic light stands like this. And if you want a more pro level light stand that's not all the way up to a C stand level, you can check out this 3-pack from Manfrotto. These are $300, but you get 3 really heavy duty light stands. I'm actually using one right now to hold my key light, and it's super heavy duty. I don't have to worry about my light ever falling over. And even if you like kick the stand, this thing's not going anywhere. Now I want to show you 3 different setups at different price points so that if you're a total beginner and you only have about $100 to spend on your studio kit, you can still get great results all the way up to a more pro level setup. But let's start with the budget one. So this is our first video kit, and all the accessories that this kit comes with only cost $100 to get started, and then you just pair that with whatever smartphone you have. So we'll start with the audio. I'm using the Hollyland Lark A1 for this video because it's the most affordable system that we recommend. $40 for a nice wireless microphone, and I think the sound quality is solid. You're totally fine to use this for YouTube style talking head videos, vlogging, etc. For video today, we have the iPhone Air in studio, so I'm just using the iPhone Air, but I have several other phone options as well, so you can just use whatever you have. For lighting, I'm using that 2-pack LED lighting kit from Nice VD. This is only about a $49 lighting kit, and it comes with the light stands. You have 2 different lights. So right now I have one as my key light over to this side, and I have it kind of pointed up towards the ceiling, sort of doing like a little bit of bounce off the ceiling, as well as just pointed at me. So that's creating our key light over here. Then over to this side, I have kind of like a fill light and a kicker, and those are the only lights we have in our seat other than the house lights just being on as well. And then for stabilization, I'm just using the cheapest mobile phone tripod that I have. It's about an $18 phone tripod. And all in, this whole kit is only $100 to get up and running, and you're totally able to film high quality looking YouTube videos with this simple kit. Now here's our second kit right here. That's gonna cost you about $1,400 to $1,500 all in. Now some of this you actually can get in used condition, which is gonna bring that cost down closer to $1,000 or so. For audio, I chose to go with the Rode VideoMic Go 2 for this setup to just have a little bit of variety and not always just rely on that wireless audio system. If I did go wireless, I'd probably choose the Hollyland Lark M2, which is gonna be about the same price as the Rode VideoMic Go 2. But I like the way that this boom mic style just tends to have a richer sound quality, so I went with that for this setup. Now for video, the camera we chose was the Sony ZV-E10, the original one. I still think this is a great value and can also be found in used condition for closer to $500, and that can save you quite a bit of cash. The lens we chose to pair with the Sony ZV-E10 was the Viltrox 20mm f2.8 lens. So that's gonna let in a little bit more light than the standard kit lenses will. And this lens is very affordable at only about $170, and it also goes on sale typically. Now, because this is an APS-C camera, you can see we have a tighter field of view than we've had for the rest of our video, because that 20mm now is gonna act like a 30mm field of view because of the smaller sensor inside of the Sony ZV-E10. For lighting, we went with the Amaran Pano 60C kit, and right now for the key light, I actually have it bouncing on my white ceiling, and that's creating my key light. So that's a creative way you can get even softer light out of this kit. You can bounce it off of hard surfaces that are lighter, like a white ceiling is a great way to get bounce lighting, and that's what I'm doing for this talking head video. And then the other one I have set to the RGB blue mode and just have it pointed towards the background. And then for our tripod, we just went with the Magnus tripod, which is about a $100 tripod, and it works great for this setup. Now I think the iPhone did look and sound really good, so you could certainly go for that and save yourself a lot of money, but I do think that this setup really does bring up the overall image quality, and you can use your ZV-E10 for things like live streaming, use it as a webcam potentially. So I personally think it is worth the increase in image quality and overall performance. And here's the third and final pro level setup. If you want results that look like this talking head shot right here, it's gonna set you back over $5,000 for all the equipment that gets this shot. For audio, I'm using the Hollyland Lark Max 2, which is their most premium wireless mic system that they make, and I think it sounds fantastic, and I've used it for most of this video today if I was using the wireless setup. For video, we're using the Sony FX3, which is a over $4,000 cinema camera, as well as the Sony 20mm f1.8 lens. Now this lens is on the higher end, but it's honestly not that expensive when you look at what some other premium lenses cost, and I think the results of the FX3 paired with the 20mm look amazing. If you've ever watched a video from me on this channel before, this is typically my go-to setup for getting a really crispy looking talking head shot. For lighting, I'm using the Amaran 60D overhead with the Light Dome Mini, and it's positioned just out of arm's reach. I can actually reach up and touch the light right there. So it's really close to me, which is creating a larger soft light source. So I can actually reduce the output of the light. I don't have to make it so bright. It's set to about 15% intensity right here, and we're still getting a really powerful soft light. I love this setup right here, and I have it on that Manfrotto stand. And for our stabilization, we're using that Ulanzi VideoFast heavy duty tripod, just because with the Elgato prompter on it and everything, it's just a little bit more heavy duty. So let me know what you think about these 3 different setups. Honestly, I'm pretty surprised that what you look at a $100 setup can do with a smartphone all the way up to $5,000. Of course, there's some differences, but nowadays, you're kind of without an excuse in terms of getting good audio and video. There's a lot of affordable gear out there to improve your talking head setups. And honestly, this video kind of just scratches the surface. So if you want to check out another video from us right here, highlighting even more affordable tech and accessories for creators, you can click or tap this screen, and I'll see you in the next video.